So the next piece of our prompt formula is the most important. It's the actual task, the true instruction. What is the question or the thing we want answered? Respond to this email. Improve this short story. Write a JavaScript function that generates prime numbers. Write me a cover letter. Suggest a restaurant to eat at in Paris. There's, whatever the task is, we have an actual task in the prompt. So I'm using some color coding to try and differentiate between the initial context setting and then in red, the actual question or task. So act as an online marketing expert that specializes in ads targeting Gen Z. That's setting the scene. And then the actual question or task, write a tweet promoting my new course on ChatGPT prompt engineering for beginners. Or setting the stage, you are the pastry chef in a 3 Michelin-starred restaurant. Come up with a high-concept dessert involving liquid nitrogen. So we're providing information up top, and then afterwards coming up with a specific question or task. I live in USDA hardiness zone 4. This is information about me, the user, right? And if you're not familiar with hardiness zones, it's as far as gardening and growing plants and fruits and vegetables, there's different zones in the US that are based on how much snow and frost and temperature and a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, I live in zone 4. Generate me a list of dates when I should start specific vegetables as seeds and when I should transplant them outdoors. So we have the task, and then we had information up top about me this time. One more example, act as a middle school geography teacher. Write a quiz with 4 multiple choice questions about the countries of South America. Now, of course, you could just say, write a quiz with 4 multiple choice questions about the countries of South America. But if you tell it to act as a middle school geography teacher, or if you say, I am a middle school geography teacher, write me a quiz for my students, we're providing more information, more context, and we can get a much better result. Because otherwise, what skill level would it write this quiz for? Who would the audience be? Adding that little sentence up top with that context can make a big difference. Now, as far as what the actual tasks are, the possibilities are kind of limitless, right? We could ask it to summarize things, translate things, explain things, write code, extract keywords, pretty much whatever you want, tell a joke. That is not what this section is focused on, right? There's so many possibilities there. What I want to focus on here is just the structure of a prompt. So whatever you're trying to do, you have your context, initialize that context, then you have the actual task at hand, whatever the task is. We'll see plenty of examples of real prompts and writing all the stuff, from scratch, but I just want to move quickly here. With that said, I'll show a handful of quick examples. So here's an example that doesn't have any initial context. It just says, write a tweet promoting the launch of my new book called Mastering the Python Coding Interview. And it writes me a tweet. Excited to announce the launch of my latest book, Mastering the Python Coding Interview, blah, blah, blah. It's sort of generic, but it's not terrible. And then here's an example where I kept the exact same task, write a tweet promoting the launch of my new book, but right before it, I said, you are a high-profile JavaScript influencer. And the tweet that it gave me is a little bit more interesting and definitely more specific, right? Stepping outside my JavaScript comfort zone to highlight an extraordinary new resource. So it's a JavaScript influencer who's selling a Python book. Doesn't really matter if you're not familiar with either of those tools, but the point is that we get a different result by being more specific and providing some initial context. Then, of course, we can get way more varied with the actual tasks that we give it. We could say, write a tweet promoting the launch of my new book, or we could do something like write, 3 tweets. That's a simple example, but we'll get a very different output. 3 tweets promoting the launch of my new book. And while that's going, we could try something completely different. Write me a script for a 30-second TikTok video to teach people about, let's say, JavaScript variables and let versus const. So same initial context, you're a high-profile JavaScript and coding influencer, very, very different task. And we'll see how it does. By the way, here's our 3 tweets. So 3 completely different tweets. They're all kind of similar because it's all about the same topic. It's not the most inspiring, but 3 different tweets. We've got emojis in there. We could tell it not to include emojis. There's a whole bunch of things we can do as far as the format. So I know that this video is pretty obvious, right? You can provide a task to ChatGPT, and you should provide a task. That goes without saying. What I think makes more of an impact is having that task preceding it with some sort of context, some general information. And here's the TikTok script that it wrote for me. Not too bad.